Seemed like it was going to be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Yeah, barely an inconvenience, and now it seems like it's going to be much more difficult.
Birding is a hobby that can present some interesting challenges. Scouring a scenic location in search of an individual bird can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Other variables such as difficult terrain and time restrictions can make things even more complicated. This was the case when we went to search for a state rarity with only a handful of hours to look before we would need to leave.
Hey everybody, this is Derek and Ryan from Badgerland Birding. We are on our way to Devil's Lake to look for a Gray-crowned Rosy-Finch. There's a couple other cool bonus birds that we could also get up there, but we're on a bit of a time crunch. So we're going to give ourselves 3 hours to see if we can find this rare bird. And we're about 20 minutes out. We did stop to look at an eagle just to check for gold, and it did turn out to be a bald eagle, but we're going to have to hike up this bluff, and then hopefully we'll be able to find that finch. Hashtag find that finch.
Yeah, the hard part's going to be getting up the side of the bluff quickly and efficiently and safely, and then hopefully the bird is still there because we will probably be some of the first people today trying to find it. So hopefully it doesn't take longer than 3 hours because that's all we have. Devil's Lake is one of the most beautiful state parks in Wisconsin, offering gorgeous views along with some annual rarities. Among these rare birds are Townsend solitaires and golden eagles, two species we hope to find while looking for the Gray-crowned Rosy-Finch. After driving in the dark to get there as early as possible, we were ready to put the time on the clock and get started. We just arrived at the parking lot right by the trail that we're going to take, and we are about to put 3 hours on the clock. Let's go find this bird.
So we're just about to start climbing. Timer 3 hours.
All right, let's go. While we wanted to go as quickly as possible, one major hurdle was the steep trail up the bluff. Nonetheless, we still felt optimistic. You think we're going to do this?
I think so. There's definitely other birders here, so that helps having the numbers. But anytime you start up this big cliff face, you're like, oh man, we're in for a big adventure today.
I feel like there's that added element of we got to go fast too.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's not easy to go fast up the cliff safely, but we're going to try.
We began our trek up the rock steps that made us feel like we were going at a near vertical incline. After almost 15 minutes of hiking, we still hadn't encountered any birds. Yeah, I've seen no birds here yet.
I haven't even heard a bird.
There's Townsend solitaires up here someplace, though. I'm kind of breathing heavy. After burning up more calories and finally spotting a bird, we finished our hike up the stairs. We made it to the top. Now we just have to figure out exactly where the bird is, hoping it's still going to be there, but I think we have to go that way for a little while yet. We started walking the trail running along the edge of the bluff. It didn't take long for us to find one of the birds we were hoping to see.
Townsend solitaire, as we were going for the finch, one just flew in, silent, eating juniper berries. We got the solitaire. There's some conflicting info about the Rosy-Finch because we saw one of our friends who said it was down this way, but on the way up somebody told us it was over here. So we're gonna go over here and see if it's still hanging out. I think there's probably more than one though. I think maybe 2 or 3.
Even though the finch was reluctant to show itself, the solitaires were a different story. Townsend solitaire experience, that was awesome. There was 2 of them. We saw them as we were walking down the path, and they went this way, fed on some junipers, and then took off. So we even heard them vocalize. That was really cool. They made that bubbly, thrushy call because they are thrushes. But what a neat experience. Now we just have to find our target bird, the Rosy-Finch.
Well, no matter how much the Rosy-Finch doesn't seem to like us, the solitaires love us today. We just had one that was perched out in the open on a tree, then it flew into a rock like 5 feet away from us. So that's insane. Best solitaire views we've probably ever had.
In addition to the solitaires putting on a show, flocks of pigeons were a unique sight in such a beautiful place. So we think of pigeons as strictly just city birds, but in their actual native range, they're really fond of cliffsides and habitats like this, so it makes sense that there's pigeons here. But it is in a weird way kind of funny to see them in a natural environment where we're so used to seeing them on sidewalks and eating bread from people on city benches. With almost an hour of time elapsed, we turned our attention back to trying to find the Rosy-Finch.
Here's the update. When we went up the bluff, somebody said it was feeding right on the path to the left, so we went there, didn't see it. A couple other people up here said it was, they saw one over this way, so we went this way, didn't see it here, so we're kind of split up into groups. Us two, it's like groups of two, us two, two others, and then two others, all kind of looking, and then if one of us finds it, we'll let everybody know. So we had a hairy woodpecker looking at some pigeons that are actually just flying behind me right now. And we were just kind of walking back and forth, hoping this finch pops out. It seemed like it was going to be super easy.
Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, barely an inconvenience, and now it seems like it's going to be much more difficult.
A short while later, there was a breakthrough. So one of our friends that we met up here just sent us a pin of where this thing is, so I think they have it back there, so we're going to go now. We received reports that the bird had flown east, but headed the direction it was last seen in anyway. When we arrived on the scene, other birders were looking at a plump, rosy-colored bird on one of the paths.
Very chunky finch.
Yeah, it's chunky.
The finch eventually moved to an even more accessible trail, and cooperatively fed along the ground. This is so epic. It's just chilling right on the path, minding its own business. Doesn't have a care in the world, it seems. It did actually get chased by a Townsend solitaire for a little bit, which was kind of funny.
Western bird battle.
Yeah, this is just like a western bird paradise up here. The Gray-crowned Rosy-Finch is a very distinctive looking species with a black forehead, reddish-brown colored body, and a namesake gray crown. They have a pinkish wash on their flanks and wings. These finches breed in high elevation areas in the mountainous parts of western Canada and Alaska. During the winter, they move into lower elevation areas in the western continental United States. During breeding season, Gray-crowned Rosy-Finch's diets consist primarily of insects, but during the colder months, they switch to more of a seed-based diet. They are known for feeding along the ground, but will occasionally catch prey in the air as well. If you want to find Gray-crowned Rosy-Finches, look for them in areas with open spaces and rocky terrain, as these fascinating birds tend to live above the tree line in alpine areas and are accustomed to spending time around snow and even glaciers. During the winter, these cool-looking birds will visit bird feeders, adding a nice splash of color to the backyard feeding stations. After getting plenty of incredible views of the Rosy-Finch, we decided to make our way back down the bluff, feeling great about seeing some amazing birds and having extra time to spare in our challenge.
Finch experience was awesome. We had a bunch of people come over. It was super cooperative. So once the location was kind of nailed down, it was just hanging out. Didn't seem to care about people at all. So that was a great experience. And we definitely did that under 3 hours. So we pick up a golden eagle. That'd be a nice end of trip bird.
After a treacherous walk down the trail, we reflected on our experience.
We just made it back down from the bluff with about 23 minutes to spare. So I think that's pretty solid. That finch was so cool. They were larger than I remember. I've only seen them one other time, and those colors were just so beautiful. Kind of reminds me of the Neapolitan ice cream with like the strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, those cool tones. So it's definitely worth the trip out.
I think that went very well. At first, it seemed like we weren't going to be able to find it, and then once we did, it gave great views. That's only the second time I've ever seen that species in my life, and it's one of my favorites just because of how cool it is and how specific the habitat is that it usually lives in. Not to mention how cooperative the solitaires were.
Yeah, and I think like the one we saw was like 6-7 years.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It almost feels like a lifer again.
Yeah, this is nice to see that one again and get some cool videos of it and have a good experience here at Devil's Lake. So we'll see if we can pick up anything on the way out. Would be nice to get a golden eagle. We'll see what we
Came
can
in
do.
under 3 hours.
Under 3 hours.
That's the important thing. Under 3 hours. Before leaving, and with a little time to spare, we made one last stop, which ended up paying off. Dude, golden eagles.
Let's go. We were just about to leave. We're like, well, we probably should go. And then, bam, bird flew over. So we kind of figured if we stayed here long enough, we'd probably see one. Yeah, that was great. We went 3 for 3 on the day. 3 for 3 in 3 hours.
That's wild. I can't believe we did that.
It could have very easily went horribly wrong, but it helped to have so many people out looking for the finch.
This was absolutely fantastic. It's been such a long time since I've seen a golden eagle, and Derek just spotted one that was flying over a bunch of trees, and he's just like, that looks golden. You can see the dihedral, which is that V shape, which is separate from the bald eagle, which has the more flat wings. But man, this was such a good day. I was so excited. I ran back to the car to get my camera, then ran back out here. So man, amazing. Without having any more species to find at Devil's Lake, we left with some time still on the clock.
So we have about 8 minutes left on our 3-hour timer, but we're gonna head out and call it a day because those are the 3 main birds we wanted to see. 3 for 3 in under 3 hours. Can't ask for much more than that. Incredible day.
Birding doesn't always go as planned, but on this day, we couldn't have asked for much more. It's hard enough to find rare birds as it is, but to do it with a certain window of time adds a whole new dimension to it. With work, family, and life in general sometimes limiting the time you have to go birding, sometimes that's just the way it has to be, and we were happy to be so lucky. Do you have a story about finding a bird in a certain window of time? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.